A decay is present in society, and we see this escalating in times, particularly right now on Black Friday, as it foreshadows the chaos, riots, and civil unrest that we will experience in the near future. You came here for the truth, so let me unveil that for you. Today I'm going to talk to you first about how it all begins. There are many who are not concerned and do not feel threatened by the future events that will unfold, but I will assure you that this is coming. Let's look at this information out of Bloomberg. Italian unemployment rate rises to record above the forecasts. Italy's unemployment rate unexpectedly rose above 13% in October, and that's of course their fake numbers, setting a record as businesses refrain from hiring amid the country's longest recession since World War II. All of Europe right now pretty much is experiencing a deep level of recession, triple dip recessions in certain areas. They required massive quantities of bailouts from all around the world, including the US and the Federal Reserve, and the money gets sent over there, but let's just ignore that for the time being. And of course, the reason I mention this is because when you have unemployment, the people are unable to afford the basic essentials for their lives. And when that happens, you have riots, you have civil unrest. This has happened many times, countless times throughout history. We see it occurring right now in many developing nations around the world. And when you impose austerity, each one of those decisions will undoubtedly bring the people onto the streets, which of course brings the militarized police along with it. Let's get into the present day right now as we see the shoppers acting like fools out there on Black Friday, literally fighting. We've seen people fighting over Nike shoes, dying just to have pairs of shoes made by slave labor, and they will pay extremely high amounts, wait in lineups all night in the cold, in the rain, in the snow, fighting for their lives for these senseless things that they do not need. Let's go on and show you right here the panic on these people's faces as they worry. What if I can't get that TV? I really, really want that TV. And of course, the television is nothing but a representation of what's coming from it. They call it a TV program for a reason. This is programming, this is propaganda, and it of course is there put into your face for that reason. And it's not really necessarily a bad thing if some individual wants to watch television. That's okay. The problem I have is where they try harder to get their TVs than to worry about simple things like a tyrannical government that is so clear, so obvious in front of their face, but they don't care because they need to worry about the Black Friday deals. That is extremely frightening. And let's get into this news right here out of CBS. 2 women fight at Norwalk Walmart over a Barbie doll. This is how sad this has gotten. It is pretty amazing to watch how low people will go, and this is not getting any better, unfortunately. So let's get into one of the very most important things that you can watch right here from SGT Report, The Madness of a Lost Society. He goes into it, he breaks it down, and I hope that he's going to do another one for 2014. Really, really good information. As always, the link will be in the description below. SGT has done an amazing job with this. There are, I believe, 3 at least of these. I'm hoping for more. It really shows you how low the society has come far and long. Let's go on into what I wrote about in my book, talking about how when you impose the austerity measures, when you increase the taxation, and when you systematically devalue their currency, the people are not going to tolerate it, and they're going to start to riot. One of the possibilities that they've discussed is quote-unquote reforms for Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. And essentially what that means is giving out less of these benefits. The people are already struggling as it is. If they quote-unquote reform, we're going to have major riots, chaos, and civil unrest. This is something that you cannot avoid. The people will do anything for a Nike shoe. What do you think they're going to do when they have to eat and they can't find food? They're going to riot. Let's get on with this. Medicine and meat out of reach amid Ukrainian price shock. You can see the charts for yourself showing how bad the Ukrainian currency is doing against the US currency. It is undoubtedly really devaluing very, very fast. They're experiencing very high rates of inflation. Many developing nations, in fact, right now are experiencing very high rates of inflation. And look at what this person said. I can't imagine how people can survive on a single pension. We can't even go to the drugstore. And this is a huge problem when they need basic essentials and the welfare system can't keep up with them, can't cope. You're going to have people undoubtedly within this civil unrest and riot frame that I am proposing right here. We've seen it happen in history. We see it happening now in developing nations. We've seen it happen on Black Friday. We saw it just recently with the Ferguson riots. It happens for all different reasons, but it could break out at any moment. And we've seen the army manuals, countless army manuals. I've covered them here, showing you how the army is preparing for civil unrest in the streets, and we know that they're ready, Homeland Security is ready, but the average person isn't ready, and that's what's really scary. Let's get into this, and I don't even want to cover it. I really can't. It's just too hard for me to cover. This is right from the CDC's website. A total of 730,000 abortions were reported to the CDC for 2011. And I believe the statistic is nearly 20% of all births result in abortion. This is extremely sad information. You know, if you want to read on, you have to do it on your own. I don't want to cover it, but I just need to bring out that information here, and it just shows you how low society is getting. They're falling further and further away from the family and the things that matter most to them, and they're worried about stupidity like television and the propaganda systems and Obama. And let's just get on with it. Let's just move on. I'm going to talk about Obama, what he said right here. This is out of the Washington Examiner. Obama changes the tune on immigration. Yes, I changed the law. Now I have to scroll down just for a moment here. He said that he would not be able to unilaterally allow illegal immigrants to become citizens. Let's get on to what he said there. This notion that somehow I can just change the laws unilaterally is not true. He said this in 2011. And then he said, we are doing everything we can administratively. And then he said, large numbers of cases in which the president said, I'm not emperor, I'm not a king, and I can't change the law. And then what does he say? That's true, but when what you're not paying attention to is the fact that I took action to change the law. And that's exactly how he does this consistently, going back on everything that he has said. Everything is a lie that comes out of his mouth. The people are swindled by this because they're too distracted by the foolishness of television, Black Friday deals, the Air Jordan shoes that they're willing to kill each other over, and all of the silliness and stupidity that doesn't matter. And we need to focus on what is real and look at how badly they are devaluing the currency year over year over year. And we know specifically that this is coming to a head. This is coming to a point, a critical point, and we don't want to be there at that moment then thinking, okay, now I need to react. You need to know in advance what's going to happen. We don't know exactly what's going to trigger it. We don't know exactly when it's going to come. So that's why it's important to be prepared right now, not tomorrow, but today. Do everything you can. buy your real assets with whatever money you have. Take your money out of the banking system. That not only keeps it safer, but it also defunds their fractional reserve banking scheme. That is a double knife into their chest. That's how you do this. Sure, you may only make a small wave, but if we all do this, we all collectively together pull our money out, buy the real assets, buy things like solar panels, buy things like, simple things like seeds to grow in your own garden. If you live in a condominium or you just don't have the time, you can grow sprouts in your own house for literally pennies. And this is a way to combat against the system. We need to make little small decisions. Every time you turn on the TV and you put it on a silly show, the propaganda, you're watching the president, you are basically fueling the system. But every time that you choose to avoid all of this, you are basically hurting them in some way, shape, or form. I hope that you are taking these steps into account and that you will do what you can in your own way to make a change. If you found this video informative, please give me a thumbs up and don't forget to become an insider. The Insiders is where I give out all my best intel for free, and that is available at themoneygps.com. Scroll down to the bottom, fill in your email address, and you get occasional emails from me with good, short, concise info.